Hello there guys, welcome back to Football Forensics, a place where we talk all things football. So we are less than a week away from the start of the Premier League campaign, and like the rest of y'all, I am also extremely excited, and I thought this would be the perfect time to upload my predictions for the 2022-23 campaign. So without any further ado, let's start off from the bottom with 20th position. Okay, so in 20th position, I have selected Fulham. Now I do know they did very recently win the English Championship, scoring a whopping 106 goals. However, it is very important to note that out of the 106 goals scored for Fulham, 43 of those were scored by Aleksandar Mitrovic. And while the Serbian striker has been lethal in the Championship, he does tend to struggle in the Premier League, as we did see in the 2020 campaign, where he managed just 3 Premier League goals in 27 appearances. Okay, so because Fulham did rely very heavily on Aleksandar Mitrovic's goals to come back to the Premier League, I do think that they will really struggle to survive in the English top flight if Aleksandar Mitrovic does put in a similar season to his 2020 campaign. Now in 19th position, I have selected Leeds United. Now I do understand that a few footballing fans may be a little bit surprised by this selection. However, it is very important to note that in the previous Premier League campaign, Leeds United did manage only 42 Premier League goals, and out of these 42 Premier League goals, 13 were scored by their player of the year, Rafinha, who did make the switch to Barcelona. In addition to this, they did also concede the most amount of goals of all the Premier League sides that managed to avoid relegation, and also after losing their star central midfielder Calvin Phillips, who did make the switch to Manchester City, I do personally think that they will unfortunately concede a lot of goals, and they will also struggle to hit the back of the net in their opponent's half without their star winger Rafinha. Anyway, do let me know your thoughts on Leeds United for the upcoming campaign. Okay guys, so we do have one more spot for relegation. So my prediction for 18th position is going to be AFC Bournemouth, and the reason I did pick Bournemouth is pretty similar to the reasons as to why I have predicted Fulham to finish in 20th position, because like Fulham Football Club, who did rely very heavily on Aleksandar Mitrovic to make it back to the Premier League, AFC Bournemouth have done a very similar thing by relying very heavily on their star striker Dominic Solanke, who did put in 29 goals in 46 appearances. However, despite the English striker's stellar performances in the Championship, in the past he has struggled in the English top flight by scoring just 3 goals in 32 appearances for the club. Okay, so it is pretty clear, like Fulham Football Club, AFC Bournemouth will also struggle to put in the goals in the upcoming Premier League campaign. However, the reason I have selected them to finish a little bit higher than Fulham Football Club is due to the fact that as a team, AFC Bournemouth did have the best defense in the previous Championship campaign, conceding only 39 goals in 46 games. So it will be very interesting to see how the best defense in the English Championship does fare against the English Premier League sides. Okay, so the first team to avoid relegation in my predictions is going to be Everton, who do finish in 17th position. And the main reasons for my decisions is the fact that in the previous Premier League campaign, Everton did manage only 43 Premier League goals in 38 games, and out of these 43 goals, the Brazilian forward Richarlison was directly involved in 16 goals. And because he did decide to make the switch to Tottenham Hotspurs, I do think that Frank Lampard's side will struggle to hit the back of the net in the upcoming campaign. And despite the fact that they have made a few good signings such as Dwight McNeil and James Tarkowski, it is pretty clear that they do lack a little bit of quality, as we very well did see when they did get absolutely thrashed by Minnesota FC in a 4-0 defeat. Okay, so in 16th position, I have selected Southampton, and the main reasons as to why is because Southampton did unfortunately have an absolutely terrible second half Premier League campaign, winning just 1 game in their last 12. And while they have made a few good signings during this transfer window, I do think that they will struggle, especially in the first half of this upcoming campaign, as they do face a lot of difficult teams at the start of the Premier League campaign. Okay, so in 15th position is one of my personal favorite Premier League teams, Leicester City. Now I do know some of you all are going to be pretty mad by this selection. However, do hear me out. The main reasons as to why I did select Leicester City to finish in 15th position is due to their current financial fair play issues. I mean, we are almost at the end of this transfer window and Leicester City have failed to make a single signing. And in addition to this, with the likes of Kasper Schmeichel making a move away to the League A and the likes of Yuri Tillemans and Wesley Fofana being strongly linked with moves away to rival Premier League sides, the future of Leicester City seems to be a little bit unclear, so it will be interesting to see how Brendan Rodgers' side does finish at the end of the upcoming campaign. Okay, so in 14th position, I have predicted the Premier League side Brentford, and the main reasons as to why I do think they will finish a position below last season is because they have lost their creative midfielder Christian Eriksen, who did make the switch to Manchester United. So without him, I do personally think that they will struggle to hit the back of the net in the upcoming campaign. However, I am pretty sure they will be able to easily avoid relegation. Okay, so the team I will be predicting to finish in the lucky number 13 spot is going to be Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, I do know that some of y'all may be a little bit surprised by this prediction. However, I do personally think that Brighton did overachieve a little bit in the previous campaign by finishing in 9th position. And when you also do take into account the fact that their player of the year, Marc Cucurella, has handed in a transfer request in order to push for a move away to Man City, I do think they will really struggle in the upcoming campaign. Anyway, do let me know your thoughts on Brighton's upcoming Premier League campaign in the comments down below. Now, in 12th position, I am going to be predicting Crystal Palace. Now, I do know Patrick Vieira did have a pretty successful campaign in the previous year, especially because he did manage to reach the FA Cup semi-finals. However, I do think that the current Crystal Palace squad is extremely young with an average age of around 23 years. Therefore, I do personally think that they will struggle to be a little bit consistent in the upcoming campaign. So for number 11, I'm going to be predicting Wolves to finish in 11th position because they did have a pretty successful previous Premier League campaign, managing 38 goals and conceding just 43 times. Now, the main reason they did manage to finish so high in the Premier League table was because of the stellar performances of their goalkeeper Jose Sa, who made 121 saves in his 37 Premier League games. So as long as Jose Sa is able to maintain this form, Wolves United should be pretty safe in the upcoming campaign. Okay, so we are now finally at the final 10 predictions for the upcoming campaign. So in 10th position, I am going to predict Aston Villa. Now, the reason I do think Aston Villa will finish in 10th position is because while they did have a very successful transfer window, signing the likes of Robin Olsen, Diego Carlos, Ludwig Augustinsson and Felipe Coutinho, I do personally think that Steven Gerrard will need a little bit of time to sort of understand how to utilize his new signings and get the best out of all of them as a unit. Okay, so in 9th position, I am going to be predicting Nottingham Forest. Now, I do know that some of y'all may be a little bit surprised, especially because they did finish just 4th in the championship. However, it is very important to note that for the first 8 games of the previous championship campaign, Nottingham Forest was struggling a little bit. However, after they did appoint Steve Cooper, they did have a super campaign and even managed to beat certain Premier League sides in the FA Cup, beating the likes of both Leicester City and Arsenal. And after making some really impressive signings such as Jesse Lingard and Dean Henderson, I do think that they could be a really big threat in the upcoming campaign. In 8th position, I am going to be predicting Newcastle United, who did very recently change owners, and under their new manager Eddie Howe, they have been putting some pretty consistent performances, and after making some pretty good signings such as Nick Pope, Matt Targett, Sven Botman and Charlie MacArthur, I do think that they will be able to easily finish in the top 10 in the Premier League. However, it is a little bit questionable as to whether they will be able to finish above the position of 8th. Anyway, do let me know where you guys think Newcastle United will finish at the end of the upcoming Premier League season. Okay, so in 7th position, I'm going to be going with West Ham United. Now, in my personal opinion, I do think they have been extremely consistent throughout the last few years. However, due to the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspurs and Man United really improving throughout the transfer window and the pre-season campaign, I do not think that West Ham United will be able to challenge the top 6 clubs in the Premier League throughout this campaign. In 6th position, I am going to be putting the Red Devils Man United. And the reason for my decision is because despite the fact that they have signed a super manager in Erik ten Hag and made some pretty good signings such as Christian Eriksen and Lisandro Martinez on a 5-year deal, I do think that with the current squad issues that the team does have, Erik ten Hag will take a little bit of time to get used to life at Manchester United and get the players used to his style of play. Anyway, do let me know your thoughts on where Man United will finish at the end of the upcoming season. In 5th place, I am going to be predicting Tottenham Hotspurs, who have had a super transfer window signing the likes of Ivan Perisic, Richarlison and a few others. And in addition to their star signings with a manager like Antonio Conte, you can be sure that the Spurs squad will be more than ready for the upcoming campaign. However, personally for me, I still do not think that they are at the level to secure a top 4 position. Now in 4th position, I'm going to be going with Chelsea FC. Now I do know that they have not had the best pre-season or transfer window, missing out on transfer targets such as Jules Koundé and Rafinha. However, because they have already managed to sign the likes of Raheem Sterling and Kalidou Koulibaly, I do personally think that they will be able to have a relatively successful campaign, especially if they are able to sign a new centre-back and possibly striker before the end of the transfer window. So do let me know your thoughts on Chelsea's upcoming campaign in the comments down below. Okay, so we are finally at the final 3 predictions for the upcoming campaign. So in 3rd place, I am going to be going with Arsenal. Now, despite the fact that I am a Chelsea fan and it pains me to put Arsenal in 3rd place, I do have to admit that they have had a superb pre-season campaign and transfer window, securing the signings of Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus from Man City, and also with their current football players such as Ramsdale, Saka and Martin Odegaard all hitting form. I do think that they will be a real force to be reckoned with in the upcoming Premier League season. Okay guys, so we are finally down to the last 2 Premier League predictions in this video, and I'm pretty sure all of y'all would have been expecting the final 2 teams to be Liverpool and Manchester City, because these 2 clubs have managed to dominate the English League for the last few years. So in 2nd place, I'm going to be going with Liverpool. I do know they have managed to sign a super striker in Darwin Núñez, and while he did help them win the Community Shield, I do personally think that Man City still do have the edge against Liverpool, and therefore personally for me, I do think Manchester City are going to win the Premier League in the 2022-23 campaign, because they have already secured the signing of Erling Haaland and have also made some pretty good additions such as Calvin Phillips. And if they are also able to sign the Brighton Player of the Year Marc Cucurella, they will be a real force to be reckoned with, not only in the English Premier League but also in Europe. So yeah guys, this is my prediction for the 2022-23 Premier League campaign. I do hope all of you all did enjoy this video. Please do drop a like if you did find it useful. Stay safe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.